I feel like I'm not always the best person to ask to kind of cover stuff like this because I'm not just going to be objective. I have my theories. And whenever I talk about my theories, people are like, you're a conspiracy theorist. This is rude. So let's get into it. Okay, let's set the scene. This is ocean themed. I'm a Cancer. I'm a water sign. I love the ocean. I respect the ocean. Therefore, I don't fuck with it. Earlier this month, I tweeted that in June, I'm really interested to see if we're going to see a lot of missing persons case overlapping with water in general. It doesn't have to be just the ocean. People drowning, people getting missing at sea, things with boats, any forms of modality just kind of going missing, vanishing, or even being, rediscovered years or months later after a missing persons case, being like, oh, they passed away, or oh, we found the vessel. Also, I'm sorry my face is so bloated today. I'm in my luteal phase. Since tweeting that, we've seen quite a few cases of things in the water fighting back. Things like fires and stuff were kind of overlapping with other predictions I had too, because we have a lot of Leo, a lot of Mars things going on as well. In that tweet, I also mentioned planes and flights missing or having a lot of complications. This was another example of something like that materializing. Then we had the awful tragedy of Cameron Robbins jumping off that ship. I think it was because of a dare with his friend, and that horrific video of seeing him really having no hope immediately off the bat. Some people said that they thought a shark got him or something. It could have been the tides. Whatever it was, like, you jumped in the water. Good luck coming back from that, right? That alone, even if there wasn't a shark or anything there, the power of the ocean, people underestimate it. This is a good example of somebody being found in water. John Forsyth, I think that's how you say his name. He's a doctor, and he was found dead after disappearing. So we have two key players here that are really relevant in terms of the ocean, water, disappearances, illness even, losing people, things going missing, things being quite deceptive and very widespread, and that's going to be Neptune and Saturn. Neptune makes me think Atlantis. It makes me think of the ocean. It's very vast, it's far, it's wide, it's powerful, and because it's so powerful, it's also scary, and that's what Neptune really rules. I think a lot of the times when we see things about astrology on TikTok, Neptune is like, oh, dreamy, ethereal, Piscean, like very magical, and it is, but there's also this very deceptive, horrifying side to it. The ocean is a perfect example of that. I always say this in readings when I'm trying to explain Neptune to somebody. When we go to the ocean, when we go to the beach, when we just go on a sunny day, right? The beach is gorgeous. You have fun, you lose track of time, you're taking pictures of the sunset, it's very ethereal, right? That same ocean that's beautiful on one day is the same ocean that murders people and that causes tsunamis and that has all this horrifying uncharted territory, right? Saturn, on the other hand, Saturn rules challenges and limitations and frustrations, and it can kind of be where we are cornered and pressured and chiseled into, I always say, like, pressure makes a diamond, learning a lesson the hard way through struggle and strife. And if we do happen to come out on the other side of that successfully, congrats, you learned your lesson. You learned what not to fuck with, basically. And with Saturn being in Pisces, we're learning not to fuck with Pisces themes, or to be more responsible or disciplined or more respectful of those matters. There's a whole thing we can go into with this. I have other videos on my YouTube about how it crosses over with like medication, mental illness, the air, all of those things. But in terms of the ocean, again, it's very widespread. It's water, it's sea animals, it's the ocean in general, and all of those things, having Saturn there is trying to teach us a lesson or starve us of or bring poverty to the themes of Pisces. For example, something like screwing with a shark with your human hand because you're on a little exertion and then getting your pinky bit off. That's a good example of Saturn and Pisces. Why would you do that? But now you know your lesson. So in terms of the astrology with the submarine, I'm not going to pull up a bunch of charts of like the day that they dove in, the day that they went missing. Like, I don't really care about all of those details, and I'm sure there's a million other videos on it. The main things that we're looking at is that we have Neptune in a sextile to Pluto. Neptune is also in Pisces with Saturn. The sun is breaking a square to Neptune. And I guess we can even attribute Mars being square Uranus to this in some ways. I would even say Jupiter too, being in a square to Venus. There's a million different interpretations we can take off of this. I would say with Pluto and Neptune, it could be being highly idealistic and kind of taking advantage of your power due to money and circumstances that allow you to go on an exertion like this, and then learning the hard way that something can have more power over you despite how much money you have. The thing having more power being the ocean. Neptune in general being very deceptive and kind of an illusion. Again, something that maybe seems very idealistic, like a fantasy, but is actually something that can turn into a nightmare. Could be something that was maybe used against the passengers that decided to go on this trip, and I'll talk about that in a second. Mars square Uranus is very like unexpected. I always say it's unexpected war. That sort of aspect is something where it's a lot of friction, a lot of turbulence that kind of comes out of left field. In terms of the submarine itself, I mean, we only know so much information, but there might have been an actual failure with the vessel of the submarine. Like maybe there's a technical issue, something kind of failed, maybe something like electric, something like fusing out, burning out, and then Neptune, of course, could be losing contact. Neptune itself is missing information, missing things, missing people. So having her in the mix in general is really like, you can feel the confusion between both the passengers and ourselves. It's like we are looking through a double-sided window or something. We can't really see what's going on with them, and they can't really see what's going on with us. Therefore, there's miscommunication. There's not going to be a way to get clarity and kind of communicate with them to find them. If this is wholeheartedly just a bunch of guys on a submarine that went missing, hate to say it, God bless their hearts, I don't think they're coming back. I don't really have a lot of hope. Thankfully, the moon was void for a very long time, and that really challenges the ability to get any sort of answers with something. So now that it's in Leo, we might have a little bit more of a chance of like getting some information, even if it's bad information or bad news. But all in all, like with anything, I think with the amount of aggression there is with this, headline being in our faces, I don't fully buy it. Like, I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's got to be more to it. People immediately jump to like, oh, here come the conspiracy theorists, and say it's like super rude or just like not compassionate or something. I think it's a skill to have the ability to kind of question what's right in front of you, and I think it's very naive to just settle with what's fed to you and be like, oh, wow. There are people, important people, who go missing all of the time and it never makes a headline. There are important people who have lots of information who vanish and die out of nowhere and it never makes a headline. And then there are people who are extreme, heinous, to the core evil people who suddenly die in jail because they killed themselves. Or people with a lot of money and a lot of information who, we're just going in a submarine and they're lost, so we're probably never going to hear from them again. I think the reason we're getting the names of these people and the reason it's being thrown in our face so much is so we just accept, either these people are dead or these people are gone. And I think that these people either had some heavy crimes under their belt due to the amount of power and money they had, or they had some really, potent information that could have put other people in a bad situation. Do you get what I mean? Anytime something is this big, I just feel like it's a distraction to something else. I know that's like such a woo-woo thing to say, but why does literally everybody in the world know about this submarine? Supposedly an employee of OceanGate got fired a few years ago for bringing up like safety precautions and saying that there were things that were kind of like, safety misconduct, and got fired for it. People with money are cocky, but they aren't stupid, and I feel like something like this is serving a purpose of being like, and they knew that it wouldn't work. And then providing us with a diagram of how insane it is that these grown men have to sit crisscross applesauce and they're using literally like a gaming controller to navigate the submarine. When things are memed like this and people are like, this is so stupid, I wouldn't even do this. Yeah, that's like the reaction that I feel like you're supposed to have, because the goal, I think, is really just to either make us believe, oh, these people are dead and gone, like we're never gonna hear about them again, there's no chance in these people existing still, or that like they actually died but that they were sent out there intentionally with the mission of like somebody else literally trying to off them. Considering we had someone who I think like worked with NASA, did something with Jeff Bezos with space, was an astronaut, went to space, probably saw some shit. They were probably like, oh, this dude's a nerd and he has a lot of important information that's gonna screw us over. Hey, you wanna go look at the ocean? You wanna go down there? Like, wouldn't that be something you'd be interested in? To get him, someone who probably knows stuff about extraterrestrial stuff, out of the game of life so they don't screw up anybody else's agenda, and then also taking what is essentially like a billionaire too and throwing him down there. He probably knows some shit too. I hate that there was a 19-year-old son there. Don't know why he was there. And then someone who's cocky enough to be like, this whole mission I have, this submarine I built, like we're gonna take it down there no matter what. I'm also assuming that the reason this trip was so expensive is because they get to see this man shirtless. It's not funny, but I feel like if you know too much about space or the ocean, somebody's going to try to kill you after they get the information from you. And I think the big conundrum here is that Neptune is less about the ocean, them being missing, and more about like the public at large not seeing that this is a huge deceptive illusion.